single time. What's your excuse when there's not a physical fight? Then what's the excuse then? You're still being admirable, right? Just by running away.
Amber, please explain to the jury what's transpiring in that audio recording, what that's about.
Well, there's two different situations that we're referencing in this fight. Two different altercations between Johnny and I involving the door. The first of which we first start talking about, where I'm talking about hitting him, I am talking about what that conversation is about the disparity. The disparity between Johnny and I in our physical fights. The disparity of how he would proactively punch me and I would have to resort to reactively hitting him. I am talking about the difference between a punch, which Johnny did often, and me having to hit him in my defense. I know the difference between those two, and I'm highlighting the difference between those two, even if he wasn't twice my size. They're very different, and that's what I'm pointing out to him. The situation that involved, the context of that is, it happened in our bedroom up in Penthouse 3. You've heard us talk about that place. And I was trying to shut a door, our bedroom door actually. I was trying to barricade myself behind this door, and Johnny was trying to get through the door. He was using his body and his limbs to try to bust through the door as I was trying to keep it closed because I knew what he would do to me when he got to me on the other side. And I was hitting his arms, his body, as he was trying to prevent me from closing the door. And that is a separate incident that we later talk about in the second half of that recording, where we're talking about my toes. That involved a different incident, which was a bathroom door, and it was one of those ones that he was passing out in. And I could hear him passing out, or what it sounded like to me behind a closed doors passing out. I heard a thud, I heard a lot of commotion, I heard a glass break, and I hear what sounds like his body falling against the bathroom door. I open it to check on him, as I was accustomed to doing at that time. Johnny violently reacted to me opening the door, pushed it against me. It ran up over my toes, and he angrily came around the side of the door, swinging at me. I naturally pushed the door off of my feet, responding to the pain and also to the awareness, the knowledge that he was coming for me. Johnny later later he blamed me in his inability to understand what happened, in that he was not in his right mind, and he misunderstood that interaction and tried to blame me for starting a physical fight between us. And he even later went so far as to say, I wasn't even going to hit you. And that was the second door. I only could respond by trying to take accountability for my actions in it, what he understood my actions were, and my interpretation. And what I'm trying to say to him is, look, I can only do my best to respond. I was in pain, I was scared, and I can't promise you that when I'm scared and in pain, I won't react, thinking I know very well what our situation is and what's going to happen to me should I not react.
Thank you. So I'm going to play another clip from that same discussion, and Your Honor, it would be Plaintiff's Exhibit Depths 356B, we will call that, and it would be from 1:29:27 to 1:30:07, and I'd like to move the admission.
All right, any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, 356B in evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. Michelle.
I can't promise you that I'll be perfect. I can't promise you I won't get physical again. God, I fucking sometimes get so mad I lose it. I can fucking promise you I'm gonna do everything to change. Promise you. I'm not gonna throw around divorce. I will not say divorce unless I really mean it. Unless it's it. And then I hope you leave me. I'm not going to. And me too. I will leave you. It's fair. I can't do it, you know? And I think, honestly, if we hold each other accountable to that, it's fair.
Please explain to the jury what was going on in that part of the discussion.
That's the same conversation where I am, as I was accustomed to doing, I'm taking as much responsibility as I had to. In those interactions, I have to, you know, in my relationship with Johnny, and as you have to, and somebody will not and cannot take any accountability for anything they do in a fight, as Johnny couldn't and wouldn't. I took on as much as I could for myself. You know, I had the whole relationship been blamed for everything, for his drinking, for him hitting me, for everything in between, blamed for walking away, blamed for staying. I blame myself as well. Blame myself for my part in it, blame myself for staying, blame myself for putting up with it. And frankly, at a certain point, it's easier to take the blame, feels easier. It almost feels better to take the blame for something than to accept the senseless nature of the violence you can't change. You know, it's almost more reassuring to take accountability for it than to accept the senseless nature of the violence that you can't change no matter what you do, no matter what I did. No matter what I did, still hit me.
I'm now going to take you to October 5, 2015, and Your Honor, Plaintiff's Exhibit, Deb's Exhibit 393A, it's another recording, 2:40 to 3:43. Move the admission.
No objection.
All right, 393A, plaintiffs in evidence.
The matter is, Johnny, they don't know. None of your friends, whether they saw a tiny fraction. That was the tip of an iceberg. A tip of an iceberg. That was my reaction to, yet again, this happening. That is the tip of the iceberg. And if you want to use that as some sort of like mental excuse or validation of whatever, of telling your friends or whatever they think or whatever they think about me or whatever, fine. But they only saw a tip of an iceberg. None of your friends
Let me ask you
and
a
none
question.
of this team have actually been there for one of our fights. They've never
Oh, boy.
actually
That's
seen.
that's not true.
Really? Have they been in the hallway? Yeah.
They've
Have
heard
they
it.
seen? Baby, that is absolutely not true. They have not heard everything.
Nathan
because
could fucking
you,
quote us.
great, he can quote a part of it, but he has not been there. No one has actually been there for a fight in its entirety.
No, how could they?
No, exactly. So stop using that as some sort of excuse like they see it, they know, they work for you or they're your friends. That
Please explain to the jury what you were discussing in that conversation.
Johnny would often use the fact that his, you know, paid employees, his loyal staff would back him up in fights, and that he would constantly threaten to call them in to validate him. They threatened to call them to come into the room to have them back up him and say that it was, you know, that my yelling or that I'm at fault, that I'm in the wrong, that it's all me. And he would do that in almost all of our fights, especially at by 2015, that he would call his friends and he'd call his staff in to back him up, so that I knew and would accept that I'm at fault and that I'm wrong. And that was, you know, what I had to agree to over and over again, just to even hope that we could have a conversation at some point in a more therapeutic sense so we could move the conversation along. That was his MO, if you will. He'd call people that work for him to back him up.
I'm going to take you to Thanksgiving 2015. Could you please just tell the jury, and we'll go through this one relatively briefly, but tell the jury about Thanksgiving and any altercations you had with Mr. Depp on that occasion.
Thanksgiving 2015, we had friends over. Johnny had Marilyn Manson over, and I had a few of my friends over. We had a son over, and maybe my father. I'm not entirely sure how long he was there. We had dinner together. Johnny was disappearing with Manson, doing coke.
Objection calls for speculation.
All right, I'll sustain that objection.
How do you know he was disappearing with Mr. Manson with coke?
That's what I knew of their relationship at the time. And he was
Objection calls for
disappearing every 5
speculation.
I'll sustain the objection.
All right.
So
Please continue with the
he
rest
got
of the
up for a longer period of time, not the normal every 5 minutes to go to the bathroom kind, but like he just appeared for a longer period of time. And at this stage, I was really dependent on recognizing the patterns of what he was. I was reliant on trying to figure out what he was on, what combination he was on, so I knew how to deal with him. It was incumbent, on me because it affected my safety. Dealing with somebody who was really high, dealing with Johnny high on coke and speed, meaning Adderall or some version of that, is different from the opiate Johnny, which is different from the booze Johnny, or a different combination. And there was talk of Quaaludes at the time, and Johnny was trying to get it from.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
I'll sustain the objection. Anyone else?
So I was.
Please continue.
So I wanted to know what I was dealing with. It was important to my safety to know who.
Objection, non-responsive.
I think
That's why I followed him.
Okay.
To
All right.
Your Honor.
So what did you do next?
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
What did you do next?
I went upstairs to the apartment, the main apartment, not the apartment that we were celebrating Thanksgiving in, to try to figure out what was going on. And we had an argument that took place downstairs, and I said something to provoke Johnny. I went up the stairs ahead of him to get back to the party. He grabbed me at the top of the stairs, kind of through the stairs actually, by my shirt. Kind of flung me a little bit, but I just remember I went into the bedroom, kind of retreated into the bedroom. I had a glass of wine in my hand at the time, which spilled everywhere and shattered, and I kind of retreated into the bedroom. Johnny came in after me, and there was this heavy, like vintage style glass decanter. He picked up the decanter and hurled it at my head, my face. It missed, thankfully, but smashed into a piece of art behind me in the bedroom wall, above the bed. I got past him. I think there might have been a bit of shoving. I can't really recall in the sequence of when that happened, but I wanted to go back downstairs. And I passed my closet. I had to change my shirt, and I went back downstairs to the party to finish the evening out. And I put on a face, and we finished the evening with the guests, and then more fighting happened afterwards.
So we talked about December 15, 2015, last Thursday, and also the Bahamas over the holidays. But I did miss one picture. And Michelle, can you bring up Defendant's Exhibit 518? Amber, does that accurately depict the scene portrayed?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, I'd like to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 518.
No objection.
All right, 518, defendants in evidence. You can publish.
And this is from December 15, I believe. Could you just please tell the jury what this depicts?
Yes, it's a picture of my bruised temple, and Johnny had his hand on my on part of my face with my face down, and he was punching my head. I'm repeatedly punching my head. That's what caused that bruise in my temple.
Thank you. Now, we went through the Bahamas before, and you returned from the Bahamas sometime late December, early January, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to take you to January, February of 2016. Can you please describe to the jury what was going on with you and Johnny in this January timeframe after this December 15 and the Bahamas incidents?
After the Bahamas, Johnny's sobriety fell apart. There was just none of it. It was, so he stopped communicating with the medical team that he had hired.
Objection calls for speculation.
How do you know that?
I was there. They fired him.
Objection calls for hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Without telling what the medical people did, go ahead and tell what was going on with you and Johnny.
Yeah, his mental health, for lack of what it looked like, his mental health was just falling apart. Is what it looked like.
Objection calls for speculation.
I'll sustain the objection.
What did you observe that led you to believe that his mental health was falling apart?
Objection, Your Honors. Calls for speculation.
She can say what she
Leading.
observed.
I'll sustain the objection as to leading. Next question.
What, if anything, did you observe about Mr. Depp's state?
He was hallucinating, auditory.
Objection calls for speculation.
I'll sustain the objection.
Please tell the jury exactly what he was doing that led you to believe he was hallucinating.
Objection leading.
Sustained.
What, if anything, was Mr. Depp doing that would have led you to believe he was hallucinating?
Same objection.
Sustained.
Please describe what Mr. Depp was saying in January of 2016.
He was talking to people who weren't there, meaning people who were not in the room. He was communicating with people and sounds and voices that weren't there. I know because I was sometimes in the room and sometimes on the phone with him. And he would tell me I had a conversation with him that I did not have. He would say I said something that I didn't have. He would comment on somebody being in the room behind me that wasn't there. It was terrifying. It was terrifying because, once he smashed a board right next to my face, and it was unclear to me whether he was even mad at me or he was convinced that the guy he said he saw me with was in the room. I didn't know if Johnny felt the man was in the room with us or not at that point. But I remember he put his fist through a whiteboard in the kitchen. He hallucinated right in front of me. And
Objection calls for speculation.
Don't use the word hallucinate. Just describe what led you to believe
Your
that.
Honor,
I'll
objection.
sustain the objection. She can testify to what she observed.
Please, thank you, Your Honor. Please tell the jury what you
Your
observed.
Honor, may we approach?
Okay.
Please tell the jury what you observed.
I observed behavior from him that was erratic, irrational, and didn't seem connected to the reality that we were in.
Now, I'm going to take you up to the beginning of February of 2016, February 8, February 9. Please tell the jury what transpired then with respect to Mr. Depp.
Around this time, Johnny was, again, behaving in a way that was very scary. It was terrifying. And sometimes he didn't know.
Objection calls for speculation.
I think she can describe what she's. Are you describing what you're observing?
Yes.
Then please continue.
In these kind of discussions I would have around this time, early February of 2016, sometimes in the argument he would accuse me of something, some person in the room with me that had just walked out or I was hiding, for instance. And sometimes he would hold on to that even when he seemed to have calmed down or come off of whatever bender he was on. And it was almost as if I had to confront what delusion he had or what belief he had or what accusation he made of me in a new fight altogether. Sometimes he didn't make it clear to me whether he was mad at me or he knew he was mad at me. It was terrifying because I bore the brunt of it. And at around the 8th or 9th, we were in his Sweetser compound, the West Hollywood collection of homes that he has. And I got some cryptic texts from him in the early morning hours that scared me. I won't say what I said, but I came over to his main house. I believe I'd been across the street, and I slept on the couch. We had some interaction in the morning, which made me fearful he didn't know whether or not I was fearful he was going to believe that he was angry at me. Even though we weren't fighting, I wasn't fighting with him. I had done nothing wrong, but I was really worried that the momentum he was on was going to click into a direction of deciding that he was mad at me and I deserved it. And I was terrified that that was going to happen. So I had an interaction with him and got really worried about that on the morning of the 10th.
All right. Michelle, I'm going to ask you to bring up Defendant's Exhibit 638. It's already admitted in evidence, Your Honor. And this is from February 10, 2016. And I'm going to ask you to play it, Michelle.
Motherfucker! Motherfucker!
What happened? What happened? Nothing happened this morning, you know that?
Were you in here?
No.
So then nothing happened to you this morning?
Yeah, you're right. I just woke up and you were so sweet and nice. We were not even fighting this morning. All I did was say sorry.
Did something happen to you this morning? I don't think so.
No, that's the thing.
You want to see crazy? I'll give you fucking crazy. That's crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy.
Have you drunk this whole thing this morning?
Oh, you got this going? You got this going?
I just started it.
Oh, really? Really? Sneak that shit on me, motherfucker.
I didn't. You were smashing shit.
Oh, bye. Ass.
Why did you videotape this, Amber?
Because I knew he wouldn't remember.
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained?
Rather than what you knew, you can say what you thought. Just tell us why you...
I was afraid. It was scary. It's scary. Scared they wouldn't remember.
Objection calls for speculation.
Your Honor,
I'll sustain the objection.
All right. So I'm going to now take you up to April 21, 2016, your 30th birthday party. Will you please tell the jury what happened that night with respect to, in particular, Mr. Depp?
At that time, we had a fitting that day or the day before, and he missed it, and he was kind of disappearing at that time, like at night, vaguely saying meetings. He had meetings, but then he'd be gone for sometimes 2 days, just not coming home and that sort of thing. Coming home after a bender
Calls for speculation
worse.
as to Bender.
I don't think that calls for speculation.
I'll sustain the objection. He's gone for 2 days. Go ahead.
And I had my birthday was coming up, and or on my birthday I said, well, are you gonna make it to my birthday party? We had a dinner planned at our penthouse. I said it would be important for me if you made it.
Objection hearsay.
Not offered to prove the truth of the matter
Overruled.
asserted. Thank you.
And he told me at some point that day that he had scheduled a business meeting or a money meeting, I think he said, maybe. 7, which is around the time my birthday was planned for. It might have been planned for 8 p.m. He, of course, once my party was starting, he wasn't there. Texted me at some point to let me know that he was going to make it, but that he was running late. And that continued throughout my party. We finished dinner, and when we were cleaning up and kind of everyone was delaying leaving because we were waiting to give him an opportunity to show up before everyone left. And he let me know he was there. I tried to, without saying what I said, I tried to give him the impression that I wasn't going to get on him about drinking or anything. I just wanted him to be there. And we had a toast. We did a celebratory toast. And the guests left. And later that evening, we were in bed, and I had a book, and Johnny effectively said, what's your fucking problem now? And at the time we were getting advice from therapists without saying what they said, it was important for me not to make him feel attacked. So I chose my words carefully. I won't say what I said, but I remember being very careful about how I worded what I was feeling about my birthday and him having missed it. An argument followed that. I got up out of bed. Johnny's side of the bed was closer to the door than mine. I remember him blocking the door, blocking me to get out, kind of shoving me down, and we had a verbal argument, and then that became a shoving match. I tried to shove him back. I kind of felt myself retreat into the bedroom. At some point, he picked up a large, I guess it's a Magnum size, not a normal size, a large size bottle of champagne, and hurled it at me. This time it went through a painting, and I loved this painting. I remember it just went right through the canvas, left a giant hole in it. And I remember thinking we shouldn't have art in our bedroom anymore. And the fight continued into the salon area, which was outside of our bedroom at the top of the stairs. Johnny picked up my phone. I don't know why. I don't remember what he was saying when he did it, but he picked up my phone and threw it out of the open window of the salon area, out onto the street, out onto the downtown street that this window overlooked. In that moment, I went, "Oh no, you don't." I saw his on the countertop and picked it up and threw his immediately, like 2 seconds later. I didn't want to be stranded this time alone, meaning I didn't want to be the only one stranded without a phone, which had happened to me already several times before this from Johnny. So I picked up his phone, threw it as well. And I said that I wanted to go stay somewhere else for the evening. I left that room, went into the office. We were still screaming names at each other and screaming at each other. And I walk around the side of his desk, and the next thing I know, he has me by the hair and he pulls me down. Kind of, I hit the side of the desk. I remember things flying off of the side of the desk that I hit with my body. I remember trying to fight him off of me. At some point, we're back in my main bedroom, and I believe I was getting my toothbrush out of that bathroom, and when I came out, we had another shoving match, but this one, he kind of I remember he chest bumped me in this bro-y way, chest bumped me and fell to the floor, and when I got back up, he kind of held me down by the shoulders, down on the side of the bed, kind of held me wrestled me down on the bed. I remember I got up once or twice before I ended up on the bed, and he grabbed me, did this thing that he did sometimes, and he would taunt me, grab me by the pubic bone, pubic area. Just as best I can describe it is he kind of just pushed me down, held me down by it, and kind of pulled me into it, and he was asking me, kind of taunting me, asking me if I thought I was so fucking tough. I think you're such a fucking tough guy, huh? Are you so tough now? Look who's so tough. You want to be a man? Tough like a man now? That happened for a bit of time. I'm not quite sure. I think at some point he left. I remember at some point shortly after that, I remember he was still in the apartment when this happened, but I remember kind of collapsing on the floor and being exhausted. I remember feeling exhausted and crying and kind of throwing in the towel, if you will. I remember saying to him, just, can we not fight like this? Like, can we start over? Is there anything that we can do? Like, this is really messed up, but can we just not do this, please? Can we stop doing this? Just don't leave. It's my birthday. Let's just call it couch. Let's call it truce and not have it end like this. I don't want to have it end like this. I was just so tired, hurt, and I remember crying and feeling ridiculous that after this I would be crying and saying these things. I'm embarrassed saying it now. He responded cruelly. He told me it's what I fucking deserve, and that I'd wake up alone, and that no one would ever love me because all of this, pointing to my face or body, all of this was going to go away. No one would ever love me, or my tits sag, no one would ever love me, and I better get used to waking up alone. And he said this was all my fault and what I asked for. And he left. I heard him come back in, the downstairs, you can hear the door slam. I remember hearing it open and thinking, oh God, is this gonna happen again? What's going on now? And then shortly after, I kind of peeked around to the top of the stairs where you can kind of peer into the lower level. And I just see him briefly, momentarily, and he just screams at me, happy fucking birthday, and stormed out. At some point, I walked downstairs and saw that he had also left me a note to that effect.
How did he leave a note for you?
It was written on a piece of paper as best I can recall, but I'm not sure.
And so then the next day, what did you do?
I texted, actually, I can't say what I texted. I woke up that morning, the morning of my 30th birthday, and I woke up to my best friend crawling in bed with me and putting her arms around me. And I remember wondering how she walked in, because there was a lot of glass on the floor. There's lots of glass. And she put her arms around me and showed me a birthday video that all of my friends, my childhood friends, all of my loved ones made. Of course, stupidly, the first thing I asked her is why Johnny wasn't in the video, because it had been recorded before. It had been recorded sometime before it was clear. And she said that she'd been asking for a few months, and Johnny just...
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
I offered to prove the truth.
All right, I'll overrule. Go ahead.
And so we eventually got out of my bed and grabbed a few things and got the dogs, left for our plans, which our plans had been to go to Coachella, which is a music festival that happens in California. And that had been the plan for a while, that's how we would go and celebrate my birthday. And I remember, as I am accustomed to doing, just trying to move through it, move on, and I remember in vain trying to put on a brave face and have a good time, even though it was impossible.
Let me stop you for a few things. What, if any, plans were there for Mr. Depp to join you at Coachella?
He was supposed to drive down, have dinner, stay in the room, maybe do some writing or something like that in the room.
At Coachella?
At Coachella, where we were. Coachella happens in a different part of California than we lived in. We lived in Los Angeles, and this happens about 2 to 3 hours away. So I finally got in my car back, and I drove with my best friends in the car.
And I'm going to stop you again because I just have a couple more questions before we go into that part. You said you brought the dogs. Who were the dogs you brought?
Johnny's dog, at the time, Boo. My dog, Pistol. We shared them. They're teacup Yorkies, and I believe Raquel, my best friend's dog, which is a mutt.
Okay. What, if any, issues did Boo have with bathroom problems, if you will?
Objection, leading, and relevance.
Overruled all that.
She had eaten Johnny's weed when she was a puppy and had bowel control issues for her entire life, among some other issues. She was, we regularly had to take her to the vet to try to figure out, well, what was wrong with this dog? Never met a dog that was quite like this. So she had some control issues, hence why she liked to burrow in the bed. She liked to be in the, by the foot of the bed underneath the covers. And it was customary that they slept in bed with us, but Boo, having the issues she had, we have to leave her in bed so that she wouldn't be encouraged to go to the bathroom, which would happen almost immediately once you put her down on the floor. And sometimes it happened in bed too. But yeah.
So what, if anything, did you notice about any bathroom issues in your bed before you left for Coachella?
Well, Raquel and I were both in that bed with the dogs, and I didn't notice anything, but we left them in the bed while we packed a bag to go to Coachella, so that Boo particularly didn't lose control of her didn't go to the bathroom on the floor. So we leave them in bed until you're ready to take them outside to the patio, which is their designated bathroom break area.
And what, if any, plans were there? How often did you have housekeeping at that time at your house?
The housekeepers were there every morning. Okay. Or they came every day, as far as I know.
Okay. Now, we'll get you to Coachella, but why did you tell Starling Jenkins that you had been involved in a prank gone wrong?
Objection, hearsay, leading.
I said why, Your Honor. I didn't say what she said.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. Did you commit any kind of prank?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
And why would that not be something you would do?
First of all, I don't think that's funny. I don't know what a grown woman does. I was not also in a pranking mood. My life was falling apart. I was at a crossroads in my life that was really serious, and I had just been attacked on my 30th birthday by my violent husband, with whom I was desperately in love and knew I needed to leave. It was not really a jovial time, and I don't think that's funny, period. That's disgusting.
And what, if any, understanding did you have of Mr. Depp coming back to your bedroom that night or the next morning?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'm asking what her understanding was.
No, I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Had you had any conversations with Mr. Depp about him coming back to the house the next day?
No, Johnny didn't come back to that house. That was my, he owned it, but that was my house when we were having any sort of problem. In fact, that was my house just 90% of the time because he just didn't come back. that was not a place that Johnny was going to be in, that Johnny was in, and he had stormed out on my birthday. And as per what we did, he would go and stay at his West Hollywood home, and I would stay at the downtown places. He wasn't going to come back to the
Objection
Eastern
calls for
Columbia.
speculation.
I think she explained her answer on that
Okay.
one, what she
I'll sustain
thought.
just the last part. Okay, next question.
Thank you. All right, so let's take you to Coachella. Who drove?
I drove.
Okay, and who was in your vehicle?
My sister, my friend Savannah, I believe, my best friend Raquel, just my girlfriends. I typically surround myself with my girlfriends. It's my sport.
Was there any occasion in which you were riding in the vehicle that Starling Jenkins was driving?
He picked us up from Coachella in the evening when we, as a group, all were ready to leave. That was the day that we went, which was the day that I took MDMA and mushrooms at the same time. Realized very shortly after what a horrible idea that was, considering the state that my life was in. I highly don't recommend that combination at the time. So I didn't feel like being in a crowd. I didn't feel like being at Coachella. I had intended to try to have a good time despite what was going on in my personal life. And I realized that was just not going to happen. And so I wanted to go home. Meaning to be in a bed. I wanted to be, I just wanted to be held by my best friend and watch a movie. And that's what we did. I didn't feel well and wanted to leave.
Okay. And when you said you rode back with Starling Jenkins, was it just you, or did you have other people in the vehicle with you?
When we left Coachella, it was my entire group. I wasn't ever alone with Starling. I certainly wasn't anywhere near him. I didn't have a conversation with him. I sat in the very back seat with my best friend next to me, and it was a whole group of us.
Thank you. Your Honor, I don't know. This might be a good breaking point.
All right, that's fine. Okay, ladies, let's go ahead and take our morning recess. Do not discuss the case with anybody, and don't do any outside research. We'll take 15 minutes, okay? All right, we'll just come back then at 10:50. Is that okay? All right, 10:50.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.